It was very troublesome to hear Alan Greenspan, the former Fed of the Federal Reserve, the head of it, talk about this as a once-in-a-century financial crisis. I mean, that is very, very worrisome. He said the probability of another big financial institution going down he thought was very high, and the probability of being in recession was also growing rapidly above 50-50 now. Now, let me also add to this. I mean, this is, in the last 10 days, we've talked about the major mortgage backers in the States, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. I mean, that was a $5 trillion deal. We're talking right now about the Lehman Brothers, fourth largest investment banking firm, but they're also talking today about AIG, up until very recently the largest insurer in the world and still the largest insurer in the United States. It's in bailout talks right now and restructuring talks. And let me just throw one more in. The largest savings and loan company, Washington Mutual, is also under fire here. And I mean, so obviously this is a very, very nasty mix. I think the perspective to get, though, this is not Canada. And our financial institutions are still very profitable. They had some exposure, depending on who you are. CIBC had a few $1 billion worth of exposure, which wasn't easy. But I think this is one time I think Canadians better sit back and say, thank goodness our banks are very profitable.
Now, Michael, you're talking about all of these companies. Is there anything we as individuals can do?
I think it is very difficult. I think there's a lesson for individuals, and what is, the only way you really get in this kind of trouble is when you get over your head in debt, and it's for companies, it's for countries, and it's for individuals. I think if I had a debt exposure that I was a little worried about, I would certainly be addressing it right now. I think the other thing, it's going to make business a little tougher because it's going to be more difficult to borrow money. For example, if I knew I had a use as a business for sort of an extended line of credit, I'd take it right now. I wouldn't wait because I think some of those are going to dry up pretty quickly at this point. And again, for the stock side of things, as you just mentioned, stocks are down about 4% on average and maybe as much as 5%, when you look at the different indexes. Well, I think you're a little late. I mean, where were you? I mean, this is the kind of, we've been talking about this on this show going back, months and months and months. I mean, this is just another leg in a series of really difficult financial things happening that grabbed our attention, I say, well over a year ago now.
Now, Michael, I know you have been talking about this for more than a year, but what is next? Are we going to see a rebound, or are we still heading down this path?
Well, again, I'll go back to Mr. Greenspan. I mean, I think the guy should know. I mean, he knows the government, the central banks. I mean, by the way, the Canadian Central Bank threw in over $2 billion, the largest amount they put into the system in any single day since the year 2000. You heard what's happening in Great Britain. Obviously, it's happening in the States. But Alan Greenspan says the bottom in the housing market is in there. I agree with him in the States. They still have a whole range of other types of mortgages coming due, and I think that's going to cause some problems, especially if you get more economic woes. Again, we're going to feel this. We're an export nation, and that's our major customer. If they go into recession, as Mr. Greenspan suggests, at the very best case scenario is they sort of get to about a zero growth situation. So yeah, we're going to feel this one.
All right, Michael Campbell.
But I'm just not, serious, I'm not panicking. It's not the same kind of financial calamity situation.
No, I've seen you panic. This is not you panicking, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we've seen me.
Thanks, Mike.